make content about
First question I have is, like, how early were you into cars?
From birth.
Birth, okay.
Yes, it's actually a hereditary condition. Like, my father was a car guy, my grandpa was a car guy. This is just how I grew up. My boys, car guys.
Oh, of course. That's my dream for my future kids.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you were a kid and growing up, what cars were you into?
Oh, boy.
Like, what were your dream cars growing up?
I remember the first time I saw a 993 Turbo. It was red. It was owned by, my dad's right here, it was owned by the Simkoviaks. And that was like the absolute pinnacle of cars in my mind. At that point, I was like 14 or 15 when the first time I saw one, and that was it. I was like, this is the car.
Okay, then my follow-up question. So I've heard you have a lot of cars.
Yeah.
And you've probably experienced a lot of cars in your life.
Yeah.
If you had to have just one car that you had to drive every single day, what's the car? What's the go-to?
Without a question, 911 Turbo S, and it's not close.
Really?
It does everything. You can slap snow tires on it. You can pick your kids up from school in it. I can mount a tent on top of it.
True.
Like,
yeah.
My 911 Dakar just landed yesterday. And I'm literally going to go camping in that thing. I'm going to go off-roading. I'm going to go rock crawling. Like, the 911s just do it, man.
Yeah.
And they never break down, and they go so fast. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Okay, so my hot take that I was talking about earlier was, and me and my brother both kind of agree, that if we become millionaires one day, that we would never probably buy a car that costs more than $250 or $300. Because when I look on Instagram, I don't ever pay attention to cars that are like $1 million. It's always just like Civics and BMWs and old classic JDM cars. And so my question is, do you have any cars that are cheap that you're like, I want to build this, and it kind of gives you more of a passion than like the really expensive stuff?
Look, like an E46 M3.
Oh. Yeah, those are like...
I mean, that just does it for me. Like my E36 M3, my Paul Walker M3, that is one of the greatest cars that you will ever drive. Ever.
Yeah.
And
I forgot you had one of those.
You can find E36 M3s for like 15 grand.
I know.
And so you can have 99% of the fun in a $15,000 car that I have in my $3 million Pagani. And I'm not kidding. So you're like, so why do you buy that car, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess that's a little bit of the notion, yeah.
So you're saying you're never going to buy a $250,000 car, right?
I mean, I'll buy a GT3 RS.
So what if one day you are worth $1 billion and 250 grand to you feels like 1 cent?
Yeah.
Why, like, so for me, it's more about the experience,
sure,
right? Than it is like the cost of something. So like, people ask me what my absolute favorite car is, and it's probably my 1994 Runner that my dad helped me buy, right? Like, like that's probably one of my favorite cars because of the memories that we created.
Sure.
Like, I like the Defender 90 because I drove across the country with my dad in the middle of the snowstorm. Yeah. And we thought we were gonna die, and we made it, and it was just this really cool memory, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's cars.
It's the experience, the memories.
Yes.
Last question for you. What is your current, maybe you don't have a dream car because you already have them all, but what is your current, like, I want that, and soon?
So my favorite car of all time, but the price has gone up so dramatically on them. 1965 Ferrari 250 short wheelbase. If you guys don't know what it is, go look it up. It is the most beautiful Ferrari ever produced by mankind. Like, crazy. It is stunning, and it sounds incredible. And I've only seen one in my entire life in person, and I'm like, I love you, you know? Like,
so that's like end game for you. That's like the
problem
maybe
is,
you don't even have an end game.
I'm 6'3", and I'm 210 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't even think I can fit in the car, but you can't go test drive them. Like, I bought a Ferrari F40, and I went to get in, and I'm like, I'm 6 inches too tall for the car. Like,
crazy.
Like, my head was into the roof liner, and I'm like, I just spent $1.6 million on a car that I can't even drive. Like, and
crazy.
So those cars you don't get to drive, right? So you just have to hope, and maybe you get to sit in one at a dealership somewhere, but I didn't. The F40 was like so high on my list of amazing cars to buy. I think it's probably the most iconic Ferrari design ever.
For sure. And honestly, like, I've never been a huge Ferrari fan, but the F40 always did it for me. So are you going to keep all your cars? Or are you like, keep it for a while, sell it?
I keep them for a while. If I don't like the car, I get rid of it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Like fairly quickly. So the F40 I had for 6 months, but I'm like, I can't drive this thing. I'd rather roll that money into something else.
Sure.
So fortunately for me, the kind of cars that I buy, the exclusive nature of those cars, typically means that the value of the car increases dramatically over time. So overall, I've made a substantial amount of money on the cars that I buy.
So what you're saying,
you can't afford not to. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that buying a bunch of cool cars is a good use of my money.
Depends on where you're at in life.
Okay.
That's what I want to
don't leave it.
Yeah. That's the good note.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
You too.